Welcome to Comic Contenders, where we compare two iconic Singaporean and international comics and tell you whether they deserve the hype. And to add a little something extra special to the mix, we also have a subject matter expert. So I'm your host VNC, and I'm here today with Lingying and our very special guest, EvaComics,
Hi.
Evangeline Neo.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
Comic Contenders is where we compare a Singaporean title to an iconic international title with a similar theme. For today, we're really excited because both books are very new and created by young female creators, and we're very curious to know what people think about these titles. So let us know in the comments below if you've read any of these books, and let us know what you think as well.
Okay, so Eva, you're particularly familiar with autobiographical comics, is why we got you on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because like you're really good at putting, your life online and also in book form for everybody to see. So maybe we can share, like this one.
Okay.
That is definitely one of your best-selling ones.
Yeah.
a manga lover's Tokyo travel guide. So this is really cool.
Let me hold.
Why do you think people are so interested in autobiographical comics?
I think it's relatable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Relatable, and also something close to their life.
Mm-hmm.
So something maybe they can take some tips or teachings from the other people's experience to use it on their own life.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's quite many people like this kind of genre.
And it's why it's like one of the most popular comic genres as well, like with people talking about their lives. I'm sure like if you read a lot of if you read YA or like original indie graphic comics, there has been a trend of a lot of debut comic artists actually doing autobiographical work, because it is actually, it's easier kind of like to start from your own perspective than immediately to diving into like a brand new fantastical world. So today we have two very interesting comic creators that did just that. The first book we're going to talk about is How to Date a Dozen Men by Samara. So this particular book is quite interesting. It's a very personal debut graphic novel from her. And what this book is about is she kind of documents her first experiences with the dating scene in Singapore specifically. And she's coming in like, she is like graduated from uni already, but she's still like, oh, I haven't experienced dating before. And then she kind of like throws herself in the deep end, starts with dating apps, and then decides, okay, I'm going to go for matchmaking service. Like most people don't like think about it, but she's like, okay, I'm going to pay the big bucks and I'm just going to get a matchmaking service and make my life easy for myself. And then through that, she meets like 12 different guys, and she talks about every single guy that she's meets in here. And like outside of all that, right, she's still struggling with her own like work, her day job, her trying to be a comic artist. So it becomes like this really interesting like story about her just trying to experience this whole new world for her. And then the second book we're gonna talk about is It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. So it's by Zoe Thorogood. So this book is also deeply autobiographical, and this one actually dives a little bit more into like her personal psyche and records 6 months of her own life as she struggles with dealing with depression and how she tries to use comics to kind of put her life back together. So actually, she kind of dives into her own relationship with the people around her, and then her relationship with herself, and also her relationship with comics as a whole. So both books, they are relatively popular because this, of course, is Samara's debut graphic novel. So she's still like kind of like dipping her toe into the whole like comic scene, right? And then you have Zoe, who with this comic actually sent her like kind of skyrocketing into popularity. She sold like her first like print run out in like a few days, and she won most promising newcomer actually for the Eisner. So that was like extremely impressive. Yeah, if you guys don't know, the Eisner basically is the kind of like the Oscars of comics. Yeah, so it's quite a big deal for her actually.
Samara, if you remember, she was actually one of our first podcast guests when we started out couple years ago. Samara was on our love and dating episode. So if you guys are interested, you should go back and watch that episode. One of our most entertaining and most popular episodes ever.
She actually talked about a bit about the book.
And she talked about her
like
book at that point, but it was still in progress. It was only like a couple of, I think she posted it online, or she had done just a few pages of comic strips at that point. It wasn't a book at that time. So that was the very early days, and then now the book is out. So yay, proud of you, Samara.
Yay! So before we dive deep into the books itself, we're going to start with our ratings for both books.
Yay.
So the way the ratings work is we have 3 special ratings for our show. So the first one is can lah. So this is okay. This is a moderately enjoyable read. And then the second one is called best. So what this is I like it a lot. I had a good time. And then the last one is shook. It's like, wow, this was so amazing. I felt my soul leave my body, that kind of thing. Yeah. So very simple, very straightforward. So let's start with Samara's book first. Okay. So everybody have a think about, what your rating gonna be for Samara's book. And then after that, lift it up together. Okay, when I say 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait, what Lingying?
I put shook.
Oh, wow, shook. Oh, shook. Okay. Odd one out goes first.
I have not put shook much so far in this podcast.
Odd one out goes first.
Right, so okay, I think that like when I went home and thought about it, why I would make something shook versus best is usually because shook, there's a personal element to it. So I would say a lot of things can fit in the Canla or best category, but the shook is really reserved for things that I feel like I have a strong personal connection. So I think for Samara's book, I really relate to it because I mean, dating in Singapore is difficult or weird or funny, and a lot of the things that she wrote about, I felt were very kind of, as in it's relatable, it's also funny, and also I've never seen anyone tell that kind of story before in comics. So I really liked it. And yeah, I really love it. I would recommend it to people, especially my friends who are in the dating scene. I think those people, they need
truly
that.
Understand
They need the solidarity.
The struggle.
It's really tough, man. Like going on dating apps in Singapore can be quite nightmarish.
And that's why she went on a matchmaking service instead.
and that experience is very unique also.
Yeah, it is.
So that's why I put show.
Ava?
Okay, I think not many titles can go into the shook category. Especially at my age now, it's very difficult.
You've seen a lot.
Yeah, it's
so your taste.
Mature taste.
The life experiences is a lot lah. So to change my life takes a really. I don't think any books or drama can change my life now, except for unless someone close to you physically has some issues or what, then it's life changing. So that's why it's best. Yeah, so same as what Lingying said, it's relatable. But I wouldn't say it's rare for people to get the dating, to pay for the dating service. Actually, my friends did that.
Oh.
Yeah. And I also dated, I didn't date dozen, I only did 10 during my time. Oh. Yeah. So I did explore to make it into comics at that time, but some of the guys follow my channel, so it will be very awkward to see themselves portrayed in my social media channel. So that's why I ditched the idea lah. Yeah. So
some people was
protecting their privacy.
Yeah. So it was so it's relatable. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I see. For me, it's best for the specifically opposite reason from both of you. Okay, the reason why it was best for me was because dating was not relatable to me. Because I was like, okay lah, this one's a bit weird. I hope I don't come across as a pick-me, but genuinely, right? For me, I spend like a lot of my years not caring about dating. I don't have the yearning, like the need to be like, okay, I want to be in a relationship, right? Which is kind of funny because the last episode, right, if you watch, I talk about how I went on a date at like one of the locations in one of the comics, but that was with my current partner lah. So But specifically, right, I just don't care about dating. So when I read this, I was like, interesting, new world.
Interesting.
I'm
right,
very
right. You're a pure, innocent person. You haven't been contaminated by the horror that is
That's
dating apps in Singapore. Like
I am very anti-dating app, okay? I just think like if
you're one of the
There's success stories.
unsullied few.
There's success story. My friend was successful in getting someone from the dating
Yes,
app
I've
and
heard
got
too.
married. But
Yes.
then, so that's why I tried. But
correct.
when mine is like different different experience from her.
I just think like dating apps are like the lottery, man. And also you're dating someone you don't know. You're just meeting some random and then you try and get to know each other and you have this awkward, terrible phase where you don't know each other. And then it gets worse as you get to know each other. Whereas like if you come into dating from like a friend place, like a place where you're already friends, then you already kind of know each other's flaws and the relationship develops better. Which is why I've been very like, okay lah, dating apps. I see why people do it, but then for me it becomes a bit less like relatable lah. So even while I was reading this, it's like, oh, this is really fun, very interesting. The guys, I'm sorry to say, like she's really good at depicting like kind of like the horrible men that she saw. And I feel like when I was reading this, like, wow, I think some guys when they read this, maybe they'll get mad, huh?
Yeah, I wonder honestly, like if men will not want to read this because they find it alienating.
I had a friend who had some issues with the way that she portrayed the guys and her expectations of the men. But I feel like because it's my friend lah, I won't say too much, but basically I think could be quite interesting. It's like watching the Barbie movie. You know, there's a test for the Barbie movie where like if you bring a boyfriend to the Barbie movie and then you see what he says about it, you know exactly the kind of guy that he is. So maybe you can do that with this book also. See what he takes out of the comic.
It's a litmus test.
It's a litmus test, okay, with Samara Gun's book. Now let's, I think, move on to Zoe Thorogood's book. Okay, so let's prepare our rating. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, we have 2 shooks, 1 best. All right, Ava first.
Okay, like I said, very little work of like greatly affect my life right now. So that's why the highest tier is best.
I respect that. I respect that. You reserve the show for truly and like life-changing show. Your bar is very high.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Maybe when I was like in the 20s, it would be
more shook.
It'd be shook. Yeah.
Like different stories give you different things at different phases of your life. So it's kind of true because the two protagonists in this book, they're a lot younger. They're like really at their coming of age. Like very young woman. I don't know how to, I mean, we're all still young women. I mean, we are young women.
You know, when I take this book, right? When I take this book,
just,
right, it's like, I say, you know, I'm like, no, this
I'm not the target. You're not the
it's
target
like
audience.
this for young women, like teenage girls, and then
teenage girls.
I'm really auntie.
No, I mean like, okay, like Samara herself, she's my age actually.
Yeah, 20s.
Really?
Yeah, she's my
20s.
age, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Won't reveal a woman's age online or in the video, but
mine is at the back of the book.
In late 20s.
You're zillennials. We are the millennial.
My already.
Okay. Yeah.
It actually is good leh. Then we got like the opposing, you know, opinions. Cause I'm coming in, be like, oh, I'm mad relatable, yeah, you know, like that kind of thing. And then you guys be like, I've seen the world, like your kids, you know, like this perspective is like, been there, done that, right? Anyway, maybe you can explain why, like, other than that, like you think is best as well.
First of all, I'm quite impressed with the artistic expression of the author, the artist, how it transited from different phases of like her internal thinking, her thoughts, and also it's quite interesting how she doesn't draw her friends but represented them through animals, animal heads, and it's like, wow, that's cool. And how she transited from different selves, like she talking to her own self but in a different style. So, and I also like the expression, like how some of the drawing and composition changes while as she think, I can tell that really she's thinking about sorting her thoughts out while doing this book, and it's very I don't think I can ever see this from local artists.
Yeah, I get what
It's
you
very
mean.
Western kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the way they interact with like
Yeah.
the storytelling.
And she got
yeah.
really so deep into her personal life that I think Singaporeans maybe not that open to it yet as well. Yeah.
Or rather, like this is the topic of mental health is very sensitive generally, and then in a small market like Singapore, I think a lot of people won't want to share so much, and they also and other people in the audience are also not looking for this kind of topics. Whereas like in the international market, with a niche, I mean it's a very very small niche, but at least there's a very strong support within that niche. And if you have a huge market, I mean, when we talk about international titles, it's because they're facing a global audience with like global reach, global distribution. So I guess niche titles can go very far in a very very big market, whereas like in a small market, you kind of have to, editors will tell you to like do something that has more mass appeal.
It has some sex involved, so maybe that's why you won't see that from a local publisher, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Yeah. Like they also don't want to reveal that, I'm reading this book, and then they have that relationship to mental illness or something, and people get wary about that, which is not great.
Putting two sensitive topics together, so it's very. Usually it's quite tough for local to get a green light lah.
Yeah. So there will just general trigger warning for this comic lah. Actually, that there are like discussions of depression, also like suicidal thoughts. So this is something that you have to pay attention to if you do really want to reach out to, if you really want to read this comic. But Lingying, I think you should also explain why it was shook for you.
So for me, I agree with everything Eva said about the artistic expression. I think when you read the book, the way that the graphic storytelling takes you into this person's mind and like the emotions that they're going through, I think it's something that I haven't seen executed so well in. I mean, it's a bit of an unconventional book, I guess. So like conventional like manga or comics, you definitely don't have this kind of storytelling or this depth into the subject matter. So I like that a lot. I thought it was something I hadn't seen before. And then personally, for me, that personal factor is that I also relate to this book a lot, because I mean, I guess like mental health and depression are things that I think about as well, and then like seeing another person dealing with it from their perspective, like a young woman going through it, is something that I relate to a lot. So that's why this book, for me, that there was this personal element that obviously like other books might not.
I mean, for me also it was shook for one, definitely similarly the artistic reasons. Because I think like as somebody who works with comics, we are very familiar with certain kinds of comics, and then the way that she went about like exploring her story, she breaks a lot of traditional comic conventions. She like bulldozes straight through, and then you're like, wow, I'm so like, and then she trailblazes, and creates something new. And like, so when I was reading it, my experience of it was like, I read it the night that I picked it up. I actually read a little bit of it. So I read like 20 pages. And I've talked about how I read at night for like, just to like calm down, have a nice chill time, right? For this one, after I read 20 pages, my mind was like just turning, shaking, trying to like just understand the metaphors, understand her art. Like, what was she trying to do with like all her multiple avatars, and then her fourth wall breaking, and then I was like, whoa. And then also, of course, like bringing in the element of depression and mental health, and the way that she discussed it so candidly. Then I couldn't sleep because I was thinking so hard about like the comic, just how she genuinely, it was like a genuine experience where I was just thinking really hard about how she formulated her comic. And but then what happened was it kind of scared me off reading this comic, because I was thinking so hard. Like, I wasn't just spiraling about her comic, I was spiraling about my own my own personal life, like just like thinking about my own relationship with my mental health, right? And then I stopped reading this for like weeks that I didn't pick it up because I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna experience that again, and I was damn scared.
It's very intense. Yeah, I think somehow she manages to achieve that level of intensity.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe it's because she's very like raw in her expression or something. But yeah, once you start reading it, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
you know, like this is something else. So I kind of like that actually.
Yeah, same. I went back to re-pick it up again, and like it really still just as amazing as when I picked it up originally. So I was very excited to like talk about this book, and also of course about Samara's book, because both of them actually, like when I read Samara's book, I also stayed up to 3 a.m. and I just finished it in one sitting, and it was just a really, really good time. So for me, both of them were like just great time lah. So I think now that we've kind of, had broken the ice with our rating, we can talk a little bit about the story specifically, and maybe also like, understand your perspective as the autobiographical comics expert, like what you think about the story and the art and also some of the themes, right? So just now you actually mentioned about the way that you like the construction of her story for Zoe. So I'm kind of curious, like, what did you think about the way that the creators chose to craft kind of their personal narratives and its progression in the book for both?
I would say my style is closer to Samara's style. It's very narrative, like this A happened, B happened, C happened. We don't really go back and forth with what we think or experience. It's really just telling an experience like a memoir. But Zoe's is really like she intercepts. Sometimes I'm figuring like what is this scene about? Because she will intercept something that doesn't follow the timeline. Because ours is usually very timeline, like, it follows the time flow, but hers is like sometimes it cuts through another scene, or like, for example, there's this part about the frog. Suddenly there's a frog.
Yeah, there's a lot of surprises in the book.
Yeah. So it's not like linear, like we went to this place, this happened, then this happened, this happened, this happened. Yeah, it's like this happened, then she cut to another memory or another scene with different like it's not like something different from the front that you think like, what was this new page about? Yeah, and then after you finish reading, then you connect it to the what happened before. So the storytelling for this is different from mine and Samara in a way that's kind of makes you think more and try to connect the dots. Yeah,
that's true. I really felt that, like, because it kept jumping around, like it would go into her childhood, then it would go like back into kind of like present day, and then she would have this like whimsical moment with like a dog that was very Alice in Wonderland feel. Like she was following a dog, and then this dog started like turning into a monster.
Yeah.
And then you're like, whoa.
You'll be like wondering, because all her characters are not like human.
Yes.
Like what we would draw is all humans, but hers is like animals and whatnot. So you have to sort of like find out, is she drawing another human, or is it like one of another thoughts? Like,
that's true. I really enjoyed that like broken up structure of Zoe's book, because it felt like what depression is. Because in the 6 months, I mean, like for depression, if that time isn't linear, because you don't, like, time kind of slips away from you, right? And then you don't really remember day-to-day events. You just kind of have like pockets of, maybe you have like a little happy thing that comes up if she goes for an event, and that's event happens, but during that event, like maybe she has another like depressive spiral, and that cuts back in and it ruins and kind of like destabilizes the story, and she has to do and restart her story again and again, because she is trying to restart her life every time like something terrible happens. I thought that was quite interesting.
I feel in a way like she's more connected with what's going on in her head than what's going on in reality, whereas for the other two books, they are more grounded in reality. They're talking about what's going on around them and what they're experiencing. So it's like having this third party it's having a third person perspective versus like this one person perspective where this person is very disconnected from what's going on around her and actually very trapped in her own like internal psyche.
Yeah.
So you really feel it like with these two like different styles. I think how to date a dozen men. I mean the title already says it, right? There's gotta be something in here that is, you know, like maybe some things you can take away, like some advice or like some objective things about it. But then the other book is completely subjective. It's like what she's experiencing here has nothing to do with the audience or like the world. It's just her experiencing these things.
Yeah,
so
for
it's
sure.
it's just very different styles of storytelling. Honestly, I think that very internal thing, because it bets on, as in for the creator, you're taking everything from yourself. It's not about, oh, I had an interesting experience, let me tell you about the interesting experience and interesting things around me. It's like, this is what's going on in my head. Not everyone has the patience and stomach for another person's like internal psyche. So I think it's too like actually quite polarizing, I would say, like
approaches to a personal autobiographical story. I thought that was internal external difference was quite interesting. I remember when I first picked up these two books, right, for this particular episode, because we need, you know, to choose our books in advance. So when we were picking books for this particular episode, and we picked these two, I was kind of worried. I was like, hey, later these two a bit different, like too different, then how to compare? But actually, what happens in the end, like we found there's a lot of similarities. They were kind of like very diametrically opposed, but they approach some themes in the same way, like themes of loneliness, you know, themes of like mental health, themes of having to create because that is such a deep part of who you are. And I'm wondering, like, did any of that kind of messaging resonate with you and your own personal work?
I think maybe Samara's one resonate more, because this one is really about her internal struggle and all that, which is very personal. And so Samara's one is she's also trying to participate in a contest, I think a comic contest. So for this one, it's relatable because when I first started out, I was working full time. And I was working on my comics at night and on weekends, no life. And I was trying to participate in manga contests in Japan from the Japanese publishers. So it reminds me of the time back then when I was trying to work my way up as a comic artist. So it's really lonely, but you have to be lonely to be productive. So there's I think it's okay lah. I mean, like, in the end, we have to sort our time. Yeah, so this one is actually more relatable than Zoe's book, because it's really different. And also my style is more colorful as well in the books here. So it's more similar to me. You can tell from the cover lah. You know, so obvious.
It's the same ballpark. Cheerful.
Cheerful, outgoing.
The
not
cover
really outgoing,
cute.
but cheerful and cute. And then
the cover really sets the tone for both books. They are definitely very different.
Both are good covers.
They're both good covers.
Really tells you the story.
Yeah, exactly. Just now, like when you mentioned the covers, I thought it was very interesting because off camera we had this conversation where Ava said, we thought it was kind of cool that, like, you know, she was front facing, and then she was like, her back was, well, hers, you know, she had a back towards, you know, the reader.
It's like it's like you entering into her world, and allows you to imagine and all that. And into a bag, like whatever, very personal here. But this one's outside at the shop, shopping for cans.
Cans.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a very different tone.
He's just Ken.
Yeah. I also find the same lah. After you date like 10 people, it's like everyone merged together.
And then she did this really Samara did this really cool thing with all the guys that were in the comic, which like she chose to not draw eyes for all of them. Like, okay, if you pick up this book, right, you see lah, the people that have eyes and the people who don't have eyes, like she makes it quite clear. So basically the guys, they one way is it helps to make them less identifiable, more anonymous. And then the other way is just like, they're just some guys lah. I thought it was really funny. Like you don't really get to really know them as well because they're very fleeting, you just meet them for one date.
Yeah,
but the people that matter to her
also cut down the work.
Yeah, exactly. And then it also made it easier for her as well. Yeah, so I just thought that was a very, very fun little treatment that she had in terms of the character design. And like we've been talking a bit also about that kind of like art style that both of them use in their kind of like graphic novels. And I'm thinking like, for you, like looking at these two, do you think it effectively portrays like the kind of story that they are trying to tell?
Yeah, absolutely. Samara one is very, I would say is what normal storytelling that we always use, because it's not really internal struggle that much. Yeah. But this one, Zoe one is, I think you can feel that she's sorting her memory or her thoughts. So there's different styles along the way, and yeah, it absolutely fits the. She's still thinking and sorting things out.
Yeah.
A bit messy at the moment, and she's trying to sort it out. So you can sense from the different styles, like, suddenly it goes like this and whatnot. It's very it's very suitable. It fits her storytelling and her what she's trying to do or tell very, very well. Yeah. Of course, if she did this, it will have no impact. Like did what we did.
In fact, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like, wow, if she did this, it would be just like every other comic about depression that's out there. Because there's I would have to say there is quite a lot. Because creatives, we are very internal. So sometimes like we put our internal struggles online as well to make sense of our own self and then like of like the world outside. And that I think if she really went like linear, and then you just be like, okay,
yeah,
I've seen it
she
before.
wouldn't win any Esther.
She would,
if she did that.
Yeah.
It serves the purpose, I guess.
Mm.
But I think the expectation on the reader is different. So like for How to Date a Dozen Men, I mean, I have that feeling that, Samara, she's trying to tell her story in this consistent and clear and very, obviously very well-drawn way. Whereas like for the It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, honestly, I feel like this is a creator who has nothing to lose. They're just doing it. They just really want to express that, as in the priority for them is the artistic expression.
Yeah.
They are just putting it all out there and they don't care about the rules anymore.
Yeah.
I think Samara, she's still pretty, as in it's an easier read. Like, you can read through it very fast. The writing is very clear, it's funny. You get moved along very easily through the story. For the It's Lonely book, honestly, it's a harder book to read. Like what you said, like 20 pages. Some people might hit a wall or even drop the book entirely at that point. It takes a bit of like stomach to finish.
You
the
need
book.
to be in a good space to read Zoe's book. And actually she does specifically mention like at the start of her book, she mentions like you like, let me see what exactly she wrote. So in her, right at the start, she says here, make sure you're in a comfortable place before reading and remember that the sun always rises on a new day. Because it gets pretty dark. And I think it's important to remind people that, it's not all bad always. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, she does kind of, because the comic is about her trying to process these 6 months and pick up her life again. At the end of the comic, she does not really, she doesn't become like happy or anything like that. Like all her problems are solved, but she reaches a point where she's more okay with herself and more okay with, trying to unlearn certain like thinking patterns that she had and move on with like the next step. So for this comic, it's definitely a little more of a challenging read, but you don't have to worry that it's only sad and that there are no moments where you feel like there's hope or anything like that, because there can be. And in fact, I find it like for people with depression, perhaps you might like when you're reading this, you're not expecting for her to be like, it's okay, you will defeat depression, you will be okay one. And in fact, that's kind of insensitive.
Yeah.
So I think her experience definitely would resonate a little bit more lah with people as well.
Yeah.
And then with Samara's book as well, like we've talked a lot about the really funny and interesting structure that we've had it through the book, and I'm very excited to see like what else she's able to produce, because I know like because we've talked to her on a podcast and we also know her personally, she definitely has a lot of ideas up her sleeve, and she's always very interested in approaching like her own worlds. So I'm very excited to see like if Epigram will have another Samara book coming up, or
honestly,
she does something on her own.
I think How to Date a Dozen Men can have a sequel.
I think so.
I do think that how it feels to me is that it's like a coming of age story of a young woman, and to me this is something that you can serialize, because at the different stages of her life she's going to learn different things. Like, okay, now it's How to Date a Dozen Men, then okay, I mean there are a lot of dating slice of life comics and mangas out there. Yeah, like at the phase where you're dating, it's about dating. Then when the phase where you're with somebody, then it's about how to be with somebody. Then when you have, okay, I mean, I don't want to prescribe like this kind of heteronormative lifestyle for people, but let's say if you get married and you have kids, then you start doing how to date, I mean how to have children and how to be a parent kind of comics. A lot, like some comic creators can just live this whole life through their comics.
Yeah, actually I had a Japanese comic artist who actually depicted her life from herself going to Tokyo for 5 years, and then right up to she found a boyfriend and got married, then have kids. So it's like a series of autobiographical comics of her whole life, from single to married and have kids.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can describe with that kind of story also, because everybody's experience of these kind of milestones will be different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see if Samara actually does like a sequel.
She got boyfriend now already or not?
Yeah, that's something I'm wondering.
Don't know yet.
But we'll I mean, we'll see, I guess.
Then the title will
It doesn't
change.
matter. Yeah.
How to Date Only One Man.
Correct. I think there should be I think I would be very interested, because I mean when you read this book, right, you're very invested in Samara's perspective, and you kind of like you're like supporting her and you want her to find happiness, and if the goal is to meet somebody, then you kind of hope she meets somebody. So I am very curious now about the situation.
When I was reading I was hopeful that she could find someone by the end of the comics.
Yeah.
But honestly, the hit rate is not that high.
Yeah.
Okay, according to my
dating apps lah.
not just
Or
dating apps,
matchmaking.
everything combined together. That my friend said, to increase the hit rate, you have to date more men, maybe about 100.
Really?
Yeah, so 10 or dozen is not enough.
Wow.
Yeah. To
It's
increase the probability
Then
rate.
her package was like, I forgot what it was, like 6 months or something.
Yeah. My friend also went for, but hers was like 5 dates. Yeah, but she didn't meet anybody. Right. Yeah, then she already like
no sparks.
cursed the dating agency.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're very invested in this goal, right, and you actually hire someone to provide a service to introduce you to people, it's very bad if it doesn't.
Yeah. So after
come
5
out.
dates of failure, she actually terminated the plan and decided. I don't know how she met her current one, but it was so a dozen is not enough. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you-
I agree completely. Yeah, I think a dozen is in because when you meet people like say complete
Right.
strangers, right, you are really just getting to know what it's like to be around strangers, and you're actually learning more about yourself
Also,
through the process.
the photo and the real person is different.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, I'm
The
learning
paper
about this because
qualifications.
I
No,
just
just paper qualification, but the photo, the guy may look one thing, but when you actually meet, it's like different.
Yeah, or even just the connection is not
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's you won't know until you meet somebody
Awkward,
in real life. Like, maybe you just really have no chemistry with somebody, but you won't know until you see them face to face. Yeah, even if you guys have like stuff in common, yeah, it can go so wrong.
Then what if you're
yeah.
like you're a very slow burn one, then your first meeting also no chemistry, then it
Okay.
takes you like very
So
long.
like what she said,
then
right?
This kind of thing.
Like what my friends also told me, like maybe sometimes first date don't go well, or maybe it will go okay, then you try to go a second, third lah. But really,
Really cannot lah.
Yeah.
cannot.
I think it depends on what your expectation is. So let's say you know, when you're a teenager or you're in school, right? Actually, when you meet people, you're like, oh, we get along, like we can be friends. That's good enough for me. But when you go on dating apps and dating matchmaking service, you're like, this guy has to be the father of my children and like my future husband. So your expectations going in are very, very.
Okay.
I mean, the guy is set up to fail, lah.
Quick
Basically.
tip, the
Yeah.
best time to look for your other half is during your school, when you're in school.
Agree. I think when you're not so conscious.
When you go to work, right, it's like yeah. When you go to work, it's like you have less choices, and then you're busy working. Don't really.
This is like Love and Dating episode volume 2.
Well, I don't mind talking about it.
I
again,
do also.
I mean, I think the
it's fun,
viewers wouldn't mind also.
I know in Samara's book, actually, she has this part where she, a little bit spoilery, but she comes to the realization where like she's dating all these guys because she really is just lonely and she's trying to find a way to beat that loneliness. And she feels like there's a missing part of her. And I think that's very relatable for a lot of people, and like the need to have someone to be there to support you. Yeah. And I was like, oh wow. Not in a bad way.
loneliness
Not in a
dissipates
genuinely
with
bad way.
age.
But like, yeah, because I was very like, my tendencies with loneliness were very friend-based. It's like, if I'm lonely, then it's like I have no friends. But like when people are lonely, they are like, I want to fill that with a relationship. You know, that kind of feeling. So I just thought like, experiencing this world was very new and very fun. And honestly, I highly recommend, like, if you're on the dating scene in Singapore, of course you will be able to immediately see like all her little Easter eggs. But it's also very, very general. Like anybody can pick this up. Like even if you're overseas in the States and you read something like this and you've gone on dating apps, and you would also like relate a lot to a comic. So honestly, pick it up. And we've talked a lot about it today. And like also coming back to Zoe's book as well. You guys should also definitely pick this up and just decide on your own whether you want to, like, what you think about it. Like whether she like we have different experiences of it, you know, like Ava didn't relate to it as much.
Yeah.
Lingying and I really did.
Because,
so I think guys should also pick this up and make your own judgment call.
I feel like another way to understand the two books, right, is one is a dating book, like how to
Yes.
meet people. Then this is a breakup book.
Yeah,
Almost, like
a little bit,
there's
a little bit.
as in a little bit lah, to some extent.
Yes.
Spoiler.
So I mean, it's not
But yeah,
it's more about the reckoning with. Actually, both books touch on this. Like actually getting to a relationship or being in a relationship is a lot about yourself, your relationship with yourself, and the reckoning that you have with yourself. So both books definitely go into that. I would say this one is more from the perspective of like how to, as in doing it within the frame of not being in a relationship, where this one is on a different part of the map lah. You know, trying to get onto the relationship thing.
Yeah.
This one is on the other side of the mountain. Yeah.
So for me, how I also like read it is, this is an external way of dealing with loneliness, finding someone. And then this is an internal way of dealing with loneliness, trying to see what's happening within and seeing what I can do about it. People have different approaches to that. So one might resonate with you or the other. So honestly, pick it up, check out both and see what works for you.
So before we wrap up the episode, Eva, do you have anything else that you want to say about these two books?
I mean, you already said it. Like, if you are looking for guys and in the dating, pick up this one. But if you have time for something more the mind, pick up this one as well. So I mean, it's very different now. So both are good reads. Yeah,
I would say get both. I think both
the
books,
contrast of both is
they're available at the library too.
Yeah, and they're available at the library. I think it gives you different perspective. As in, how to say, both books will keep you company during the different stages of like getting to know somebody else. Like, I mean, we don't have to say dating or like being in a relationship, but just getting to know other people and getting to know yourself. I think both books give a lot. of perspective on
Yeah,
that.
guys would know how girls think, girls know what other girls think.
Yeah, I want to say that I think like for me, obviously I have a bias towards books by female creators.
Yeah,
But
oh,
I
yeah.
want to say that I really think that a lot of, you know, like, okay, if you identify as male, like you would benefit a lot from reading these books and getting more into that perspective that you don't know very well yourself.
I think this is a good point to close up for today.
Yeah.
But before that, we have a special gift for you.
Oh,
You have to do an unboxing.
Yeah, we're going to do...
Oh yeah,
is it?
we have new mugs.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's drawn by Nadra.
Nadra, yes.
Oh my god, it's me.
It's you.
Oh, thank you so
my
much.
God.
Yes.
It's very...
Yeah.
Actually, the drawing is very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
In your style.
It looks in my style, yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you
Nice,
so
nice.
much. Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. We hope you enjoy using this
Wow,
mug.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem.
Wow.
If y'all want these mugs, let us know in the comments. Or maybe they become merch.
Yeah, much.
Merch. Thanks so much, guys, for staying until the end, and make sure you follow us, subscribe, check out our Discord, and we'll see you guys again in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.